What's up? Welcome to FONTÉFIT, the podcast. It's your host, FONTÉFIT, and I'm here to broadcast. Today, we will be talking about fascia and my fascination with it, and I'm really excited to go deep into this topic for once and for all because I keep telling strangers about fascia, and I can't really dive into it as deep as I want to, but now I'm making this video so they'll have a video to reference from. Okay, so yeah, before we do get started, can you please hit that thumbs up button and also hit the bell button so you can be notified of when I do post. But before you even hit the bell button, you gotta subscribe, because that's the whole point of being notified when I post, because you're subscribed initially to the channel. Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay, well, go ahead and do those things for me, and let's go ahead and get started into this video.
Fascia. When we think of stretching, we often first consider our muscles. But as we'll see in this video, many of the benefits of stretching are actually seen in our fascia. Fascia is the connective tissue threaded through every inch of our bodies. When your fascia is healthy, it's flexible, rubbery, and elastic, allowing for fluid, graceful movement and full range of motion. But when it's unhealthy, it can get sticky, thick, and literally becomes matted together. Meanwhile, your body feels tight, sore, and your ability to move is restricted, maybe even permanently. Truly, every single time I Googled why it's important to stretch, I got a different and unsatisfactory answer. But then I watched 3 documentaries on fascia, one of which was $32 American, and now I am convinced.
And I just want to really quickly intercept here and kind of explain my background and how I even came about to finding fascia and, all of this information. Quickly, I basically grew up in a sedentary lifestyle. I really wasn't active at all. I ate very poorly as a child, unfortunately, due to, circumstances that weren't in my power to control at the time. But I was very just restrictive in my everyday movements growing up. Eventually, when I became of age, like I'll say 20 years old, that's when I kind of noticed my fascial restrictions, if that makes sense. I didn't know at the time that it was fascia, but I knew that there was some restrictions in my mobility. And I started my weight loss journey thinking that that's what I needed to do to, I guess, get right, because essentially that's what we are taught, you know what I mean? So that's what I did. And, for like 2 to 3 years, I wasn't getting anywhere. I was at a plateau, but in a plateau in the sense of not the fat was the problem. That wasn't my concern. It was more so of my body structure, the way my body was aligned. I didn't like the proportions in which the fat distributed in my body, if that makes sense. So the fat wasn't a problem. I like the chubs, you know what I mean? But the way I held the chubs and my posture was a problem, and it needed to be solved. So long story short, I had a friend who ended up telling me about this thing called dry needling. And once I understood dry needling and I researched it, that's how I discovered fascia. Like in one of these websites, they were talking about the purpose of dry needling and they mentioned fascia. So something told me to dive deeper into fascia. So once I dove deeper into fascia, that's what I realized that was my problem. My whole posture and alignment was off because of my fascia and its poor positioning. And I realized in this journey that we can manipulate our fascia to whatever we choose it to be, manipulated in, if that makes sense. So fascia essentially is what holds the frame of our body. So once we kind of mold the fascia, that's how we can begin to transform our mold, our structure, our physique, our alignment. You know what I mean?
Fascia is a silvery white material that is made up of a microscopic web of collagen fibers connected by fibroblasts. It surrounds and penetrates every muscle, coats every bone,
it's literally everywhere,
organs, and envelops every nerve. You can actually draw a
Here
line
the
from
words
any
that
point
she
in your
uses,
body to any
envelops.
other point,
Think about
just by
that.
following the endless
Envelops
paths of
every
connective
nerve.
tissue.
Every single organ of your body has what we call a matrix of connective tissue. It's the scaffold. It's what makes the shape of whatever body part
It's
you're
what makes
at.
the shape of
It's
any
a
body part that
common
you're looking at, is what she's saying.
denominator through the
know if
entire
you
body.
missed it.
Until recently, fascia was thought to be inert and lifeless. Surgeons and scientists would cut through it and discard it on their way to what they consider to be more important body parts. One such scientist,
And this is why fascia is called our secret organ, because over time doctors didn't even realize that it was really important like it really is. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind when I talk about fascia in later episodes, because that is important to realize when you talk about illnesses and diagnoses and solutions and treatments,
Chevin of the National Institutes of Health, however, made a bizarre discovery while learning acupuncture. She noticed that as the needle was inserted into the skin, something seemed to be grabbing and pulling at it.
And
When
look at this,
Langevin
y'all.
took these results to the lab,
Look
an
at this.
MRI revealed that the collagen fibers of the fascia were actually winding themselves around the needle.
Look how it's
like
winding. So look at this picture real quick. Let me get it off the pause. Look at the picture real quick. Fun fact for you, okay? In the Bible, it says that he knits us together in our innermost being. Tom Myers, he's also a author. He's the author of Anatomy Trains, and Anatomy Trains just goes over the fascial lines and the fascial meridians and things of the sort. Tom Myers described fascia as being fabric, the fabric of life. So if that's the fabric of life in his perception, and I'm pretty sure you can see why based on the image, and not only the image, the reaction to the needle in response to the penetration. Okay? The Bible says he knits us together in our mother's womb. Do you think that's a coincidence? Because I don't.
spaghetti on a fork. And what's more, the fibroblasts send out chemical signals to the surrounding tissue, allowing it to
it's in
expand
the design.
and then relax.
God is in our design.
Fibroblasts that are inside the tissues, up to several centimeters away, not just only at the needle, they expand. They respond, it relaxes the tissue.
So the research is showing that the best thing for fascia is for it to move, to stretch, and not be stagnant. But what happens if you don't really move at all? If you're super sedentary, you haven't tried to touch your
most of my
toes in
life.
a very long time,
Unfortunately.
and you have body parts
And many
that
of
haven't
Americans
been
out
through
there,
their full
actually.
range of motion in a long, long while. To find out what happens when we don't move our bodies, researchers had people without injuries wear an arm cast and took scans of their fascia. Picture A shows healthy fascia prior to the experiment, while picture B shows
Which
that
still
same
looks a little
fascia
tangled.
after just 3 weeks of
But
no
that-
movement. Like an unkept garden,
Imagine
the collagen
moving
fibers
through
in
that.
picture B have become overgrown.
When it envelops every
They're
nerve.
thicker and have literally become tangled and fused together. This unfortunate and many times painful occurrence is called fascial adhesion.
Adhesions.
Our fascia is arranged in layers, and when we move, these layers slide back and forth, gliding past one another. In healthy tissue, these layers are organized and woven into a lattice or
Uniform.
crimp-like structure. But in unhealthy tissue, the excess collagen cross-links and fuses in many different places. And now, instead of the
And it's very important, like if you have a hard time understanding the concept of fascia, and just think about the collagen fibers being like our kinky hair fibers for us kinky hair folk out there. So just like our hair when it gets unkempt and we're like laying in bed with our afros and so on and so forth, it can become tangled and matted and knotted, right? And then when we put a comb through it and yank it, it hurts. When we try to move through it with those adhesions and those tangles in the hair, it hurts us. Likewise, when the fascial fibers become tangled because you don't move often, when you do start to move, it can hurt and it can cause pain. And because it envelops every nerve and every organ and every cell in your body, when it tangles up, that's also getting tangled up, the nerves, the cells, the organs. So that's why it can become very dangerous if you don't address any fascial adhesions soon enough.
these layers gliding smoothly past each other as they were designed to do, they stick to each other like glue and pull and strain and tug in all different directions.
The data we've obtained show quite clearly that a lack of exercise results in overproliferation of the connective tissue structures, and thus in a loss of function. It means that exercise is essential for maintaining our fascia.
People who live totally sedentary lifestyles likely have these fascial adhesions thanks to a lack of movement. And even if you are exercising or generally active, you're not exempt.
Yeah, you can
could
still
have
get it.
body parts that have these adhesions due to lack of being specifically manipulated. So we have these
Addressing the
sticky knots,
trigger
and as
points.
it turns out,
And
on top
also
of all
overuse.
this, our fascia is extremely sensitive. Some scientists believe that it's even more so than our muscles are. So by not moving, things get stiff. Our fascia will get dead.
And also, fun fact for you, another name for fascia is stems of our brain. So imagine like a plant, the roots, the stems. The stems aren't the roots. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. It's coming from the plant. It's an extension of the source. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. You can imagine how sensitive that would be. You know what I mean? You know. And fascia is just such a cool thing because another fun fact for you. This video is just full of fun facts for you. Okay, you should subscribe just for that and like it and comment and all of that stuff. But fascia is literally where our emotions are stored. And when you realize that on a deeper level, you can really understand how our emotion can manifest physically and how it impacts us physically and why it's important to address emotional traumas just as you would physical, because soon enough, if you don't, they will manifest physically. Just putting it out there.
And our movement will be restricted a little bit until these fascial adhesions are broken down. Then if this results in pain due to the sensitivity of the fascia, we may move even less, which will compound the problem and create a vicious circle. Patients would complain of excruciating pain, and yet spinal scans would reveal absolutely nothing wrong. And treatments were equally confusing
Secret organ.
and dubiously effective.
He just needs to wear this brace for a while to correct it.
Interestingly, through comparing
And another reason why it's a secret organ is because when doctors would look on, like, there's certain scans, like the CT scan or, this CAT scan and all the other scans, those didn't identify fascia at all. So that's another reason why when people come in for pain, they will be misdiagnosed because fascia never even came up on the screen of the thing they were scanning. You know what I'm trying to say.
the tissue of people who suffer from back pain compared to people who don't, Langevin has shown that the difference lies in the fascia's ability to slide.
In normal people, we have two layers like this, and they should be able to move by about 75% of their length when the back moves. And then we know that in people with back pain, it's reduced to about 50% of their length. So we know that there's a reduction in the amount of sliding that occurs between layers.
So you go from this
do not have back pain,
to-
being that my audience is quite young. But I tell you this to demonstrate
hurt.
this poorly understood system of fascia clearly has an impact on our day-to-day lives and the way we feel. Along with our overall health and our ability to move, everything is connected largely by fascia that requires literal daily exercise maintenance to maintain it. Something we're just doing less and less of in our increasingly
Unfortunately,
sedentary world.
but
Too
that
little
ends
movement
today.
can cause fascia to become so rigid and thick that it can even compress nerves and muscles. This reduces important blood, water, and nutrient flow to these areas. And water is
And
a
because of
crucial
that, it can
component of
affect
fascia.
the way your
Our
DNA is
connective
even
tissue
expressed.
Can contain up to 70% water. The moisture content is another important element in our ability to move smoothly and easily. If there is insufficient moisture here, the tissue becomes rough and brittle. By pressing down on the fascia firmly through massage or foam rolling and then letting go, water reserves can be replenished and exchanged like water in a sponge.
I just want to elaborate on what she said right there. So basically what she's saying is when we do these pressure therapies like massages, foam rolling, scraping, all of those things, what that is basically doing is replenishing the water in your fascia. I want you to really think about that. And she used the example of a sponge, just like when you put sponge in the water and then you let it go and then it absorbs the water. That's what happens when you press your skin, your fascia. It's replenishing the water. And this is why it's important to constantly manipulate your fascia, your skin, your body, so that your fascia there will not become unkept,
Between each layer of tissue, we find hyaluronic acid, another crucial component of fascia. Hyaluronic acid provides a lubricant for the fascia to glide over the neighboring muscle. The idea is that massage or movement realigns the collagen fibers, and fibroblasts produce
It
fresh
realigns
hyaluronic
the fibers.
acid. New water replaces old water, enabling the fascia to slide more effectively again. So with our connective tissue in this dense, dried out, tangled state, blood, nutrients, and all the fluids that our body uses to function are impaired in some way. It's kind of like a traffic jam, meaning that some stuff might get there, but it might take a while. Or some stuff might not get there at all.
Affecting the way your DNA is expressed.
Get to where they're going. Immune cells can't fight their fights properly, and cellular waste can't leave the area, sometimes leading to inflammation. What these documentaries showed is that when we stretch, move, or manipulate our fascia in any way, we are helping blood and nutrient flow get into areas that it may not have been in for a long while. So what can we do to eliminate fascial adhesions and keep our fascia healthy and moving smoothly? As we've seen, the treatment is just moving around. Massage, foam rolling, acupuncture, yoga, and really any type of movement-heavy lifestyle can all prevent fascial adhesions and keep tissue moist, supple, and free of inflammation.
Exactly.
Really, any type of regular movement will do.
You can't tell me that doesn't feel good, because I know it does.
How about that jazzercise lady, huh?
That is all for today's video. I hope you guys found this video to be beneficial. If you did, please feel free to give me a thumbs up button, and also if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and before you do head out of this video, I know you want to rush, but wait a minute. Open up the description box. I really want you guys to check out the links that I have down there. I have links leading to my blog post, channel, page, website. There I basically go more in depth with my revelations and my realizations, not just about fascia, either about all things spirituality, things like physical health, physical self-care, mental health, mental self-care, things like that. And I really think that will be beneficial to you in your life. So if you can, definitely check it out. I also want to thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I hope to see you again next week for episode 2. Yeah, thank you guys. Bye.